Hello, everyone. This is part 2 of week 7 of Plato, a class on the Protagoras, Phaedo, and Sophist. We continue to talk about the Phaedo, and we continue to talk about a proposal that Simmias brought up, namely that the soul might be an attunement that comes about through the complex organization of the body. I want to explore a few more dimensions of this approach today with a view to introducing a big theme in the Phaedo, and that is how it would work that the soul is a cause. When Socrates responds to Simmias' proposal, one of his objections is that, well, don't you recall we had this premise that the soul governs the body? One thing that might mean is that, say, when you make a decision, you think, I want something to drink. Then, with this mental act of thinking, I want something to drink, or I should get myself something to drink, you can set yourself in motion and say, walk to the kitchen and get yourself something to drink. So the soul, with its decision making, seems to govern the body. It seems to be able to cause the body to be in motion. And it would seem that that just shouldn't be possible if the soul is entirely dependent on the body. And now Socrates brings up a kind of further dimension of this. He says, well, the soul can also push back against the body. And in particular, a wise soul, a soul that is phronimon, can push back against the body. So, for example, you're thirsty, but you think, I shouldn't be drinking. Then, as a thinker who reasons about, say, why it is the wrong moment to drink, you can, as it were, push back against the bodily desire of being thirsty. And it's being presupposed here that being thirsty is a bodily thing. So we have kind of an ability of the soul that goes in two directions. The soul can set us in motion when we perform an action, but it can also kind of keep us in check and push back against the body when we think that we should not perform an action. And Socrates says that neither of that would be possible if the soul depended on the body in the way in which the harmony or attunement account of the soul says it does. Now, I want to invite you to think about this as a kind of preparation for this interlude in the Phaedo, where Socrates tells us about his autobiography, his intellectual autobiography. He says that when he was young, he studied earlier natural philosophers, and he was interested in what they would say about causation or the cause. And the Greek terminology here is quite tricky and disputed. We can either speak of an explanation or of a cause, and the words for that are very close to each other, aitia and aition. And the details on this are on our handout. But either way, what Socrates was looking for was a theory according to which mind or soul or reason, in Greek nous, is the cause. And what he found in early natural philosophy was kind of lots of other things, people invoking corporeal, material, physical entities, elements, and so on. And then he says he found Anaxagoras, and he was enthusiastic because Anaxagoras said that nous, mind, is the cause. And he thought he found someone who is kind of his kind of guy in the theory of causation or explanation of the universe and human action. But then when he studied Anaxagoras in more detail, then it seemed that at the end of the day, he was talking about the same sorts of things that the other natural philosophers are talking about. And now Socrates uses an example that goes to this project of explaining human agency as a component of a larger theory of causation. Namely, he says, I'm here in prison. I would have had the opportunity to run away. I was given the chance to escape, but I decided against it. I decided that it was the better thing for me to stay in prison. And if you look at theories like Anaxagoras's, then it looks as if Socrates sitting here is being explained by reference to my sinews and bones. But that is not why I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here because I decided that it was better for me to stay rather than run away. And I would like to just invite you to think about that passage in the Phaedo with a view to its incredible ambition. Socrates and Plato are saying that the best kind of theory of causation and the best kind of explanation would be unified. It would designate or identify the very same thing, namely nous or reason, directed at what is best as the cause of everything that's going on in the universe and the cause of human action.